Hi, it's Mike Mack of X5 Management from Edmonton, Alberta. I want to take a moment to talk about my new business connection and friend, Kevin McShan, of Let's Have That Conversation. I had the good fortune of being introduced to Kevin about 6 or 8 months ago. Having a conversation with Kevin was great for a number of reasons. Number one, he inspired me so much, and I'm confident that he does that with everybody that he touches. His work ethic and discipline and the ability to dig in and ask tough questions to really make us think more about how we can show up in our life was key. I hope you have the opportunity to catch Kevin in one of those future sessions. Again, big fan of Kevin and best wishes to him in the year ahead and beyond.
Having a conversation with Kevin is great because he really takes the time to understand who he's talking to. He carefully picks his question so that the audience will get the most amount of value. In addition to being a guest on his show, I look forward to every episode that he puts out because of the amount of time and passion that he puts into it.
What's up? This is Nate Palmer from the Million Dollar Body. And I love talking to my buddy, Kevin McShan. Having a conversation with Kevin is fantastic because he is so in tune with not just the superficial level, frequently asked questions that everybody wants to know or everyone's already heard the answers to. What Kevin is really great at is getting to the heart of the matter and asking those, what I think of as should ask questions. The questions that you would ask if you knew a degree already and you were able to ask those deeper questions that were going to lead to more understanding and more transformation. If you get a chance, you're going to want to have a conversation with my buddy, Kevin McShan, because he is the real deal. He is a kind, caring, inquisitive guy who is going to ask you the pertinent questions and really get into the nitty gritty. Can't say enough good things about this dude right here.
Kevin McShan is such an awesome person to talk to. If you have the opportunity to talk to him, you'll see how dedicated he is to his work and what he does, and how he really just wants to get to know you and your perspective. Even though there's a lot we can learn from Kevin, he just does so much to get to know your perspective, and it just shows his thirst for knowledge. And we also just clicked right off the bat and have been good friends ever since I've been on his podcast, and just really enjoyed my conversation with him. He's such a delight and honestly a blessing to get to talk to.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm grateful that you're putting inspiration out in the world. I'm sure that it's helping a lot of people have a beautiful perspective on what they are capable of. To see someone like you who really is aspiring to greatness is inspiring for me. And I really appreciate that you're doing that genuinely.
Having a conversation with Kevin McShan is incredible. Kevin genuinely wants to help people. He gets the greatest guest on his show. He genuinely wants to serve, and he's devoted so much of his time to having incredible conversations with the sole purpose to bring you valuable information and stories. But not just that, it's because of the research that Kevin does beforehand. The conversations he has on his show are so unique and different compared to any other podcast or show that you listen to. Let's Have This Conversation is extremely unique because of the love and dedication that Kevin puts into it.
Having a conversation with Kevin is great because of brilliant inquiry. Kevin does his research prior to engaging with his guests. Listening to understand. Kevin truly listens to his guests, and his responses and follow-up questions are based on this understanding. Engagement. Kevin's sincerity creates a safe place for bi-directional learning and sharing for optimal engagement. Caring. Kevin genuinely cares about his subject matter and about his guests. Kevin is brilliant, engaging, and a caring podcaster who creates interesting and inspiring shows. And I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to have joined Kevin and to have learned from him and his many wonderful guests. Kevin, thank you for inspiring. Thank you for being a difference maker.
Having a conversation with Kevin McShan is great because he genuinely cares. And you can tell when somebody truly cares like Kevin does, they're an incredible listener. They ask incredibly engaging questions that are hooking in not only the audience, but they're also hooking in the person that he's interviewing, his guest. And meanwhile, of course, he's hooked in himself. Kevin is constantly working towards bettering himself in order to help better other people to make this world a better place. And that's all starting with a conversation with Kevin McShan. If you haven't had one yet, I hope that you will one day.
I mean, look at the talent that you bring. You know, one of the things I noticed with you, Kevin, is you get underneath and understand something uniquely well, and you ask great questions. So, you know, you pull out almost like what's underneath an understanding and bringing awareness that I haven't seen in other people. So that's a talent, you know, and where's that talent best fit? And I think that's the question we should be asking rather than, you know, what are, you know, challenges.
Having a conversation with Kevin is great because the one word that comes to mind for me is intent. Every time I've had a conversation with Kevin, whether that's on his podcast, my podcast, in, you know, an exchange of text messages, I always feel his intent to not only just be a good friend, but a leader and someone who really values networking and making those valuable connections. So Kevin has been a great example and supporter to me, and is someone that with each conversation there's valuable insights and takeaways, and that's something that I really appreciate about Kevin and his podcast, Let's Have This Conversation.
Having a conversation with Kevin is great because he relates to you. I just feel like I found an immediate friend when Kevin started interviewing me. I felt at home. He's really great at helping you kind of unpack things that you have that are part of your story. And the reason I think that's important, and to have more reporters like Kevin, or Kevin seen more often, is because we need to get our stories out there. I think now more than ever, it's really important that we make an effort to relate to each other and listen to what we have to say. And I know for me, sometimes I'll forget to say a little detail, or I'll brush over something that was actually really important. And when I was talking to Kevin, it was really great because it was like he was able to identify those needs where I had a need to say something that was important, or that I was about to overlook or just brush by. And he, you know, gave me the opportunity and made me feel safe to open up to that. And that's what's great about having a conversation with Kevin.
I'm always happy to have a conversation with Kevin. He's smart, he's inquisitive, he's perceptive, and he's empathetic. And I know that any conversation I have with him is going to be deep and meaningful. Let's have this conversation.
You are amazing. I am so amazed. Not many people even think of those questions. They're very well thought out, very deep questions. So I'm just very impressed with your, you know, the way that you think.
Well, I appreciate that, those generous words, and you know, it's all about paving a pathway for others to follow and implement in the future. So I really appreciate that, and I really want to thank you for your time this afternoon.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate it, Kevin. And I would love to come back if there's ever a spot again. And I'm thinking about doing a podcast. So if there's ever an opportunity for me to invite you and I ever get that going, I would love to invite you.
Yeah, I would love to reciprocate the favor, and I'll put you into my permanent Rolodex of contacts. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right. Sounds good, my friend. It's always a blast to do this. And I know I end it the same way. Again, it's a broken record, but anytime I'm all yours, and I love being a part of Let's Have This Conversation.
Yeah, I think this is your 4th appearance already, buddy. You're racking them up. Yeah,
Repeat guest, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to send you a commission check.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Kevin, in my dating life, I don't usually get a call back. So at least you call me back.
Well, you know, sometimes you have to turn over a stone a couple of times before you can see what's underneath it there, buddy. So there you go.
No doubt.
But always great to see you, and best of luck with everything going on in your 97 won the ticket and all your future endeavors, bud.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it.